Well, I'll just say this. It's ridiculous that someone as plain as you is getting married before me. You'd look better in that ragged dress, and even the groom and relatives will tell you so. In front of me, I heard the mad voice of my sister next to the ruined wedding dress. My vision darkened with despair. However, as her older sister, I couldn't leave her to be such an irresponsible adult. I will show her how happy I am and make sure she regrets her behavior. My name is Sophia. At 27, after dating Jacob for 3 years, I recently submitted our marriage registration and our wedding is coming up soon. Preparing wedding invitations, food, and selecting flower decorations has been challenging, but thinking of it as an opportunity to show gratitude to the people who have supported us and our friends who have watched over us gives me motivation. Moreover, I have been particular about the wedding dress I chose. Wearing a wedding dress is a once-in-a-lifetime moment. I've always dreamed of a pure white dress since I was little. I spent quite a bit on the dress, but I wonder if I'll be okay wearing it. I think that wedding dress suits you best, Sophia. Besides, wearing a wedding dress is your dream, right? You've been saving up for it for a long time, haven't you? Thank you, Jacob. Yes, it's a special day, so I'll wear the dress I chose with confidence. That's what I thought. The wedding dress I chose has a lovely design, made with plenty of tulle and lace, created by a renowned designer. Just imagining myself in this dress, standing at the ideal venue with my beloved husband, makes me look forward to the wedding day, and it truly feels like a blissful moment. However, there were some problems in my daily life. Sophia, did you really manage to marry Jacob? Wouldn't Jacob be having regrets? Marlene said. Marlene, you shouldn't say things like that even as a joke, I retorted. When I visited home, my sister Marlene, 2 years younger than me, lounged on the sofa and smirked as she spoke. Even if it's a joke, it's an unforgivable thing to say, but I know better than anyone that Marlene is serious. Jacob is so handsome. He's too good-looking for an ordinary woman like you, right? She continued. You shouldn't judge people by their looks alone. Marriage isn't something you decide based on appearances, I replied. Well, coming from you, that might actually be convincing. I never thought you'd get married before me, Marlene said. Stop it, I yelled. Marlene is always confident, constantly studying makeup and hairstyles to appeal to men, and she's the type who frequently checks herself in the mirror. Ever since we were children, my sister often belittled me in public by saying, "Unlike me, my big sister isn't pretty." It seems she always strives to be on top. Well, apart from appearances, I've never felt inferior to my sister. Our relationship as sisters is far from good, and her recent behavior has been particularly strange. Hey, Sophia, remember when Jacob recently came to our house to greet everyone? I was there too, right? Did Jacob say anything about me? She asked. What do you mean? I replied. Like, wow, you have such a cute sister, or your sister is more refined and beautiful than you, she said. I'm leaving, I said in frustration, and tried to leave our parents' house. As I was about to leave, Marlene muttered something to herself. Acting all high and mighty just because you managed to get married, even though you're still so plain, just you watch. She said. Excuse me? Did you say something? I asked. Just go home already. She snapped back. This attitude of hers wasn't new, and I went home that day without giving it much thought. Strangely enough, on the day Jacob and I were having our pre-wedding photo shoot, Marlene came to the site with our parents to observe. Foon, oh, this is the wedding dress you're going to wear on the big day, she commented. Marlene, the shoot is about to start. Could you move aside, I asked. On the day of the shoot, I was scheduled for a solo photo session first, and while preparations were underway in the cathedral, where the ceremony was to be held, Marlene moved around without regard for others. All right, I'll move. What's the big deal? Just because you're wearing a wedding dress, you're acting like you're the star. More like I actually am the star today since it's my pre-wedding shoot. It'll cause trouble for everyone if we don't proceed quickly. Hanf, You're a typical example of someone who tries to be liked by being considerate because you're just average looking. Just so you know, that dress doesn't suit you at all," Marlene whispered to me, making sure our parents, Jacob and his visiting mother, couldn't hear. "What?" I exclaimed. Just as I was about to argue, Marlene walked away with a smile. The photo session for me began, but Marlene's words stuck with me, making it hard to smile naturally. As the pre-wedding shoot progressed, my smile became increasingly strained. "Are you nervous?" Sophia asked Jacob's mother, my future mother-in-law. We had only met a few times, but she was gentle and very kind. "I'm just having a bit of trouble smiling. Sorry to keep you waiting." "It's okay. Your beautiful appearance in that dress is something to be admired for as long as possible. Take your time with the photos." I felt briefly reassured by my future mother-in-law's kind words, but soon Marlene disrupted the atmosphere again. "Are you planning to trouble your in-laws? I feel sorry for having such an incompetent sister. Who would want someone like you as a daughter-in-law?" Marlene said. "Marlene, please stop," I responded. At that moment, my future mother-in-law stepped between us and said with a smile, "It's so thoughtful of you to accompany your sister for her pre-wedding shoot. But this is for Sophia and my son. Please, step back a little." She gently took Marlene by the hand and led her to the corner of the venue. As the shoot continued, Marlene watched me with a stern expression, repeatedly clicking her tongue in displeasure, worsening the atmosphere. "Maybe your sister's feeling lonely, like I stole you away from her." Jacob joked. "I'm really sorry." I apologized. Marlene's presence made the fatigue feel much heavier. But finally, the preparations were complete. There's no such thing as over-preparing for one of the biggest events of your life. I did a final check to make sure everything was ready. As my wedding day approached, Jacob and I traveled together from our new home to the venue, where we proceeded to separate dressing rooms upon arrival. Soon, the moment I had dreamed of would arrive, when I would wear my ideal wedding dress and vow eternal love with the person I cherished. A childhood dream was about to become reality. Filled with a slight nervousness and overwhelming joy, I was about to open the door to the bridal dressing room when, unexpectedly, it swung open from the inside. "Marlene, why are you coming out of there?" To my surprise, it was my sister who emerged from the room. As she closed her bag with a spiteful smirk, she said, "Oops, I mistook it for the toilet. Is the bride's dressing room really this shabby? It's sad you have to get ready in a place like this, but it might be just right for you." With those words, Marlene hurriedly left the scene. Although she was a family member, it was still too early for her to be here. Puzzled by Marlene's strange behavior, I entered the bridal dressing room and was shocked by what I saw. The room, elegantly decorated to provide a calm atmosphere, now held a horrifying sight. There hung my wedding dress, mercilessly slashed and ruined. "What is this?" I exclaimed. The dress, clearly identifiable by its tulle and lace details, was supposed to be mine. As I stood dumbfounded before the ruined dress, the makeup and costume staff entered the room. Seeing me frozen in front of the tattered dress, the staff could not hide their disturbance. When I asked if anyone had been in the room, they told me that my sister had claimed she was setting up a surprise decoration for me and had asked everyone to step out. Could Marlene have cut the dress? Why would she do such a thing? I wondered. While I wanted to deny it, the circumstantial evidence pointed to Marlene being the culprit. My suspicion intensified, especially because of her behavior ever since my engagement was announced and the way she had looked at me with hatred during the pre-wedding shoot. With trembling hands, I took out my smartphone and called Marlene. "What? Do you need something?" Marlene answered the phone immediately. Trying to hold back tears, I asked her clearly, "Marlene, can you tell me what you were doing in my dressing room earlier?" "Huh? Didn't I say I mistook it for the toilet? Have you forgotten already? Are you really that silly?" she replied. "That's definitely a lie. You ruined my wedding dress, didn't you?" I confronted her. As I pressed her with heightened emotions, Marlene laughed and said, "What? Something wrong with the dress? It's awful that you suspect me. Maybe this is divine punishment for your bad personality. It's sick that you seem to enjoy this. It's proof that you did it. Why did you mess up my dress so badly?" I expressed my anger openly. "Ugh, what a hassle." "Do you have any proof that I did it?" Marlene said nonchalantly and continued, "Well, just to say, it's weird that someone as plain as you is getting married before me. You'd look better in that ragged dress, and even the groom and relatives will tell you so," Marlene said, and then she hung up the phone. The dress in front of me was beyond repair. The staff, who had temporarily left the dressing room at my sister's request supposedly for my sake, were constantly apologizing. But no matter how much they apologized, the dress would not return to its original state. I kept telling the staff, "It's okay," but I was really unsure if I could continue with the ceremony. In the midst of this desperate and heavy atmosphere, there was a gentle knock on the door of the bridal dressing room. "Sophia, how is your preparation going?" What is this?" my mother-in-law exclaimed as she entered. She had come to bring some refreshments for the staff. However, as she stepped into the dressing room, which felt more like a funeral than a wedding then, she looked very serious. "Why is the dress so damaged?" "The truth is, my sister." As I began to explain with disappointment, my mother-in-law nodded quietly and said, "I see. But it was good that we prepared a backup, not knowing what might happen." "What do you mean by a backup?" "Sophia, I have a suggestion," said my mother-in-law. Normally calm, my mother-in-law then showed a serious expression and offered me a strategy. "If you support me, I'll give it my all." Thanks to that strategy, I found the resolve to perfect a wedding that I once thought I would have to cancel. Just you watch, Marlene. I will show you how happily I shine, and I will surprise you. Seeing my regained spirits, the staff became even more enthusiastic about decorating. With a new determination different from the emotions I had in the morning, I was ready to face the wedding. From the magnificent chapel set outside the venue, solemn music flowed. As the large doors in front of me opened, there stood my father, with the aisle leading to the altar before us. At the end of the aisle, at the altar, Jacob, my groom, was waiting. As I started walking down the aisle with my father, gasps of surprise rose from the guests. My father was shedding tears as he walked beside me. Meanwhile, Jacob, who was unaware of the situation, seemed surprised. With my veil still on, I sneakily glanced at Jacob's surprised face and also quickly checked the family seats on the bride's side. There I saw Marlene, who had expected me to appear in a tattered or hastily prepared dress, her expression surpassing astonishment. Marlene was so shocked to see me entering the chapel that she stood with her mouth agape, unable to move. I walked past my sister towards Jacob. As I left my father and took Jacob's hand, Marlene started to fidget with the handkerchief she was holding. We exchanged rings, shared our vow kiss, and exited to a shower of flowers. As we walked past Marlene during our exit, the handkerchief she had been pulling at finally tore. This ceremony was not about troubling my sister, but about sharing our joy. I momentarily forgot about my sister and fully savored the joy of the moment. After the group photos outside the chapel were finished, we were directed to head to the reception venue. It's good that it ended smoothly. I was really surprised. You've chosen such a beautiful dress. Before returning to our respective dressing rooms, my husband and I exchanged a few words. Amidst the pleasant atmosphere as guests began heading to the reception venue, Marlene suddenly shouted loudly, "Wait, why are you wearing such a nice dress?" Marlene was pointing at the dress I was wearing. "What's with that long veil and even wearing a tiara? Your chest is also quite shiny. Why are you standing out so confidently when you're supposed to be less noticeable than me? You don't have the right to be so presumptuous." Marlene began shouting as if admiring the dress, but at the same time berating me. She clearly looked frustrated, but the dress I wore was indeed attractive. The dress featured a long veil woven from high-quality lace, and a glamorous tiara decorated with Swarovski crystals. The silk shone beautifully, and the rich volume of the hem resembled a royal wedding. The chest was modestly yet delicately adorned with Swarovski crystals, too. It doesn't matter whether I'm beautiful or not. Every bride has the right to wear a dress she loves and have a wonderful day. You always look down on me, Marlene, but really, who do you think you are? I retorted. Everybody knows that beautiful people are above the ugly. Ugly people have a lower social status. Look, clearly, I'm the one who takes care of herself and looks beautiful, Marlene said as she turned to the guests and smirked maliciously. The guests, including our parents, were all shocked, and none could say anything. Taking their silence as agreement, Marlene gained more momentum. See, I'm definitely more beautiful. Yet I don't have a boyfriend, and my ugly sister gets married first. I can't accept this, she continued. Marlene glared at me fiercely and suddenly lunged at me. Oh, it's pitiful that such an ugly person would wear this. Take it off right now and apologize to the dress. Marlene, wait. This is an important wedding dress borrowed from Jacob's mom. It's what she wore at her wedding, so don't touch it, I screamed. As I tried to stop Marlene, venue staff and Jacob quickly intervened and restrained her. Marlene initially resisted, but quieted down when she heard what I said. Wait, that means it's a second-hand dress? So you were wearing rags after all. Treating something second-hand so preciously, you really are poor. Plus, being given rags by your mother-in-law, you're already being bullied, aren't you? No dreams or hopes at all. Serves you right, she said. I will not allow you to call this dress a rag. In the midst of the guests' merriment, Jacob's mother intervened quietly. She stepped forward with a smile and explained. That dress is a haute couture piece, specially made. It cost $200,000 when it was first made. $200,000, Marlene exclaimed in shock. The price of silk and Swarovski has gone up since then, so it might be even more valuable now. We've had specialists handle its storage, so it's in perfect condition, she continued. Hearing this, Marlene's complexion turned pale. It seemed that specifying the actual price had a significant impact on someone like her. Why would you give such an expensive item to my sister? Marlene stammered. Because Sophia is very kind and will make a wonderful bride, Jacob's mother explained gently. It makes me very happy to think that my precious wedding dress is being worn by my dear daughter-in-law. That's not the point. Why was such an amazing dress prepared in the first place? Marlene pressed on. Marlene had likely assumed there was no backup dress and carried out her plan to ruin the original one. Jacob's mother then smiled slyly at Marlene and said, Marlene, do you remember how harshly you glared at Sophia during the pre-wedding shoot? Even after I pulled you away from her, I noticed you kept looking at that dress on your phone. I suspected you were planning something. I thought you were just a clueless old woman, Marlene muttered. Yes, our family and my husband are wealthy, so we're sensitive to malice from others. Jacob's mother replied smoothly. That comment particularly struck Marlene. What? You are wealthy? So Jacob is rich too? He's rich and handsome, so why did he choose my sister? Marlene screamed in increasing confusion and frustration. Why did I marry Sophia? Actually, I was planning to talk about it in my speech at the reception. Jacob answered shyly to Marlene, who had turned red with inquiry. When I first went out to eat with Sophia, she suggested we split the bill. It was the first time someone had ever suggested that to me, and I was surprised. Plus, she proposed splitting the cost for our new apartment's rent and even the wedding expenses. What? Going Dutch? I don't understand. If Jacob is rich, he should pay for everything. Is he lacking in generosity? Sophia, you should let a man lead and spoil you. That's why you're a flawed woman, Marlene criticized. That's exactly it. Every woman I've dated said the same thing and only saw me as a wallet. But Sophia is truly independent, the first woman I've met like that. I realized I didn't want to be with anyone else but Sophia, Jacob said firmly, adding that there were other reasons too, and he spoke of his love for me. Marlene clicked her tongue and said, "Ugh, I can't listen to this. Boring. I'm not interested in a reception where such a plain sister is the star. Maybe I should just go home." After venting her frustration, Marlene suddenly lost her motivation and relaxed her shoulders. This was her usual pattern. She either creates a scene until she gets her way or until she gets bored. I have always endured her as her sister, but it is a real problem that her personality has not improved even as she grew up. Looks like I have to give her one last lesson as her sister, I thought, while grabbing Marlene's arm to hold her back as she yawned. This is a good opportunity to tell you. You will have to pay for the dress you ruined. Marlene grimaced in displeasure and then laughed triumphantly. Me? Ruined the dress? There's no proof of that. Why don't you save your sleep talking for bedtime? With that, Marlene shrugged off my hand and chuckled. It seemed she was happy she managed to ruin the dress I had chosen. However, I must teach her what happens to people who trample on the happiness of others. As Marlene looked pleased, I smiled calmly and nodded. Unfortunately for you, everything was recorded on the surveillance cameras. I had them installed in the bridal dressing room. I'm even considering filing a criminal complaint for property damage. I hate to have a criminal in the family at a wedding. What? There's such an option at weddings. Marlene's laughter disappeared, and her face twisted again with surprise and panic. Before her, I continued to explain calmly. It's not an option. I had it installed just for my wedding day and will have it removed tomorrow. How can you just install and remove things on your own? That's ridiculous. This venue is the wedding venue that I run. What? You are the owner? I thought you were just a plain office worker. Whether I'm plain or not, it's true that I was an office worker until recently. However, my passion for wedding dresses and weddings grew stronger each day, and I decided to establish my own ideal wedding venue. It wasn't only due to my savings, but Jacob's mother, who is also an investor, supported me, allowing me to pursue my dream and manage a wedding venue designed for brides. This place is the venue you manage? Absolutely not. I've never heard such a thing from Mom or Dad. I had asked them to keep my entrepreneurship a secret from you. I thought you would say it's presumptuous of me to run a company, given my ugly appearance. Marlene's face, filled with anger and confusion, gradually softened as she listened to my story. I could tell exactly what arguments were taking place in her mind. So, you're saying I have lots of wealthy relatives? Then you can introduce me to a wealthy man, right? Yay, Marlene rejoiced. In the end, she hadn't thought of anything good. Marlene, do you think we can continue our relationship as sisters? You tore up a dress I was attached to. I never want to see your face again. Why are you saying that? It was just a little prank. I said I'm sorry, didn't I? Marlene's apology was superficial, not heartfelt, and she still acted nonchalantly. That recklessness brought my anger to its limit. What do you mean? Just a little prank? I will never forgive you. It's good I'm wearing this beautiful dress from Jacob's mom right now, but the dress you ruined was also precious. I will definitely seek compensation. What? You're really planning to seek compensation? How much does a wedding dress even cost? I don't have any real savings. If you don't pay, I'll report it to the police. Did you think that bullying your ugly, plain sister from childhood means you can do anything and be forgiven? That's no joke. Grow up already. Faced with my fierce response, Marlene collapsed, powerless. Seeing our parents crying, shedding different tears from those at the ceremony, I realized how selfish Marlene was and how much she had saddened them. Sophia is truly splendid. She's the exact kind of entrepreneur I had chosen. I was fortunate to have her wear the dress and to have invested in her company. Mom, that's my line. Please don't say it before I do. Watching Jacob and his mother converse leisurely, I smiled, relieved. After sending a disheartened Marlene back home, the newly started reception proceeded warmly. Despite significant troubles, it was the best wedding for me as I was able to build trust with the family I was joining. After the wedding, Marlene was expelled by our enraged parents. They apologized to me for being too lenient with my sister and strongly condemned Marlene's actions. Though Marlene left home, she couldn't change her job to pay for the dress she ruined, so she rented a small apartment near our parents' house. However, staying local meant she inevitably ran into old friends. Since my sister and I are close in age, the incidents at my wedding quickly became the talk of the town. Every time Marlene tried to engage with her friends, she was noticeably avoided, which disgusted her enough to make her flee out of state. The commute to work took up a significant amount of time, and her scant savings were depleted by the move. Marlene now uses her monthly salary and bonuses to compensate for the dress, leading to a financially strained life. She can no longer afford to spend on makeup or fashion. Once a confident trendsetter at her workplace, she now silently gets through her days in disheveled clothes, occasionally casting envious glances at her colleagues. Her only pleasure is on social media, where her posts, full of despair, increasingly alienate people. Meanwhile, Jacob and I continue to enjoy a happy marriage. Jacob is engrossed in his original job, and I have started creating unique wedding dresses at the venue, as suggested by my mother-in-law. Encouraged by investors who believe that if you love wedding dresses, you can definitely create ones that brides will adore, I am working with my staff on this unfamiliar task. Though it's challenging, there's an irreplaceable joy in crafting the ideal dress using beautiful tulle, lace, and silk. Remembering the dress Marlene ruined still pains me, but looking at the photos of me and my mother-in-law's wonderful dress, where Jacob and I vowed our eternal love, helps me heal little by little. Most of all, being present at the moment a bride I've dressed celebrates the best day of her life has allowed me to find new joy in weddings. I am grateful every day to Jacob for marrying me and to my mother-in-law who supported me at work and when my dress was destroyed. And, oddly enough, I am a bit thankful to my sister for reaffirming my love for wedding dresses.